Okay, everyone, happy Monday afternoon. I'm King5 meteorologist Adam Claybon, still in first alert weather mode, due in part because of the heat that's still around. Now, areas closer to the coast, we've seen a cool down, at least in some areas. We're going to show you more on that here in a second. The heat eventually does ease tonight, but we're still talking about temperatures well above average throughout the week. And this upcoming weekend, a lot more comfortable, but again, it should be above average. But let's go ahead and talk about what's happening out there. Yes, we do still have very hot temperatures and possible record highs here as we go into the afternoon. Cold water too. I'm sure not as many people are going to be out in the water today in comparison to the weekend, just because most of us are back at work and getting back into the swing of things here for the work week. And we're still talking about areas across Puget Sound, the Kitsap Peninsula and southwest interior, with highs that could be back into the upper 80s, possibly lower 90s. The coast, we do see some hot spots, but I think most of the coast is now beginning to cool down as we get onshore flow to begin to return. Now let's go back and look at yesterday, because we had a few records that did actually exceed some of those daily records back on Sunday. So that will include Hoquiam, Olympia, and SeaTac Airport. And I've mentioned Olympia, that 90-degree temperature, that's the earliest we have ever seen 90 on record out at the airport there. Now for Hoquiam, that's the first time we have seen 90 in the month of May. We topped off at 91, of course, again on record. In Quileute, up to 92. That tied the all-time high temperature for the month of May. You can see that broke the old daily record, though, of 83. Just absolutely slaughtered that. It was well above that number right there. That was back in the year of 2014, so a lot of hot weather here. Now you can see the changes that are happening out here along parts of the south coast. You can kind of tell sort of a hazy, sort of misty look to the air mass. That's that onshore flow, that marine layer that's beginning to come back. Now the farther north you go, you can start to see things are changing too. La Push, seeing a lot more of the cloudy skies there, but lots of sunshine even into the higher elevations. Paradise, a lot of that snow. I've been looking at that mound right by the flagpole, and it's been shrinking throughout the past few days. And even still a little snow on top of Mount Pilchuck right there, looking live at Granite Falls. But sunshine, heat, it's been doing its job. So you're seeing 80s across parts of Portland and Seattle right now, while seeing 60s farther to the south. Again, that marine layer, that is coming more so onto the coast for California than us, but we are starting to see that change, and that is shifting our temperatures here out along the coast, with numbers a good 8 to perhaps 20 degrees cooler than where we were at this point yesterday, which recording this as of about noon. Still pretty warm here closer to Puget Sound, so that's why you're going to see numbers in the upper 70s to lower 80s, but the changes, they are coming. Still noticing that westerly flow out along the coast, still keeping more of the easterly flow here closer to Puget Sound as far as our winds, but they are a little lighter than what they were back on yesterday. So looking at temperatures, we should top off in the mid to upper 80s later this afternoon, and we'll keep an eye out with some extra moisture in the atmosphere for the possibility of a few showers or storms. Just doesn't look like we're seeing a whole lot of that as of right now. Again, this is as of noon. We should start to see some of those pop up a little more to maybe more 3 or 4 o'clock later on into the evening, and then die off after sunset. But right there, it looks like southern parts of Pierce County heading over into Thurston County, seeing some areas of light rain now beginning to develop on the western slopes of the Cascades. But again, I did mention that we are seeing some of that cool air down into California, because you can see this flow around the low pressure bringing the air more off of the water, while we're seeing the flow coming in between this high pressure and low pressure more from the east and over the mountains. So that's why things are a bit warmer into some of those spots. But zooming back in, we still have those heat advisories in effect until 8 p.m. later this evening. The coast, you are clear of that as things are starting to cool down now. Once we start to lose that, yes, we cool down later into the week, but still above average, but not quite into that extreme level. So future radar shows on into the afternoon, 3, 4 o'clock, even up to about 6 o'clock, seeing those spotty showers and storms. Not everybody will see those. We'll see those die off into the night, and then we'll get another chance of those heading on into the day tomorrow. I think those chances are going to be even less likely, though, for Tuesday, but it should be a cooler day, and we'll continue to see more of those low to mid 80s for a lot of the upcoming week. We start to cool back down, though, by Friday and Saturday, upper 70s and more 70s to come into your Sunday. Here's your forecast today. We top off in the 70s farther north, and those spotty chances of showers or storms. We'll see highs getting closer to 90 around Redmond, Issaquah, North Bend up to 88 degrees. South Sound calling for highs in the upper 80s, possibly lower 90s. In Auburn, with some of those spotty showers or storms developing later on into the day. More relief tonight, more lows dropping down into the 50s as opposed to just seeing the lower 60s that we did this morning. We're done with the first alert weather after after today, it looks like, yes, things cool enough that we're still pretty warm, but we're keeping more of the low to mid 80s around. And then there's that weekend for next Saturday and Sunday, topping off at 77 and 72. Should be much more comfortable by that time. Well, everybody, still try to stay cool today. Keep an eye out if you're heading closer to the water, trying to get into the water. Make sure to have those life jackets. And one more thing, Game 7 tonight, Kraken in Dallas. Let's go Kraken, all right? Everyone have a great day. Stay safe. We'll talk to you soon.